He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Forever, the podcast where we have the good taste to talk about Tim... Damn it, I got it the last time.
Yes.
Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever, 1 minute at a time. God damn it. Although I did earlier in the week, too, when I was doing some research. I was watching a YouTube video, and some guy was like, Tim Burton's Batman Forever. And I was like, ha, jackass.
You loser.
Like, now I'm like, oh, shit. Now I know how it feels. I've known how it feels for 3 damn weeks now.
Well, do you know what feels bad? The fact that I had lined up a joke about good taste as well. But you've stolen it, so...
It's not really much, you need help, John. Give up that joke.
Well, screw you. I'm the other host, John Parker.
And today we're joined for the final time this movie, by returning guest Jonathan and Tabitha Carlisle. Hello, folks.
Hey,
right.
we're back
for this Two-Face movie.
Hell yeah. I am surprised they haven't, in this current climate of trying to copy Marvel and do little side movies for everybody. You could do a Two-Face movie. Just call it Dent.
Yeah?
You got a Joker movie now. It's like, well, by all means. I think they were already talking about doing Lex Luthor next.
Well, there you go.
Like, yeah, well, the thing is, like, Lex Luthor in his path to being president. And it's like, so House of Cards? Is that what you're doing? You're just making House of Cards into a movie. It's like, the guy in that already played Lex Luthor that one time. So.
You've got to remake House of Cards. You've got to get rid of Kevin Spacey.
But yes, so the beginning of this movie is a very solemn occasion, because this minute begins with us mourning the death of our dear departed Dark Knight. And it ends a minute later with, oh, look, Batman's back. It turns out he's flying towards certain doom. Will he get away this time? Who knows? But yeah, we get, of course, the conclusion of Two-Face's rant of like, oh, farewell forever to that pointy-eared night rat.
Oh, let me just say, though, have you seen the Goldsman draft version of that? I love it. I'm here for it. It's better, right? He says, to finally be rid of that pointy-eared, steroid-eating, rubber-suited, cross-dressing night rat. Cross-dressing?
He spent a lot more time with Batman than we have. It's like, oh, that was between movies.
I have never thought of Batman as a cross-dresser, but there you go.
Well, I guess he is crossing species.
Cross species, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, though. Steroid. That's a fantastic diss.
That's almost the two, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's just around the corner, Tommy. Like, he is coming.
Also, hang on a minute. Wait. Maybe I'm wrong, not being a steroid user. But don't you inject steroids usually?
Oh, I think it might be just exaggerating it for comical purposes.
Right.
Of like, oh, he's just chugging them back, basically. I think that might have been what he was going for.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of Batman, then, though, because, of course, Batman's cape just flops over the helicopter windscreen. And it's just weird, because it's like the second time Batman was called a rat in this movie. And he just abruptly, like, the first time, like, bats are not rodents, Dr. Meridian. And now it's like, oh, farewell forever to that pointy-eared night rat. And it's just like, what the you call me? just landing on the goddamn helicopter again.
It's quite sexist.
I keep telling you, bats aren't rodents.
It's quite sexist the way he doesn't specifically call out Two-Face for that, but he did call out the woman.
Well, to be fair, he is stuck outside the helicopter. He could be shouting like, bats aren't rodents.
God damn it.
Maybe he is saying it, but it just, all the noise of the helicopter, and he's like, blah, 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 blah.
That'd be amazing. He's trying, and Two-Face is like, what? Huh?
But we'll also note, though, I don't know if we addressed it the last time, but it's like, oh, bats aren't rodents. Then what are bats? And I looked it up. But there's a whole big website dedicated to things that you thought you knew that are probably wrong. Nope. All about bats.
Isn't that the TV show QI?
Yeah, well, this one seems like it's a little less heady. It seems like it's almost written for children, basically. But it says, bats are not flying mice. They're not even remotely related to rodents. Bats are unique animals that scientists have placed in a group all of their own called Chiroptera, which means hand wing. So there you go. Apparently they don't carry rabies either. And they're not blind.
No, they're not blind. That's a load of nonsense. I don't know why people think that.
Well, that's Edward Nygma's downfall at the end of this movie. Please, you're as blind as a bat. And then Batman's like, I think you'll find bats aren't blind.
Yeah.
It'd be great if he was just coming out with bat facts to everybody throughout the whole
Actually,
movie.
I think you'll find they see very well.
And then the Riddler's like, oh my god, Batman's smarter than me. I feel so like such a failure now. And he just gives up.
That would be the best way to beat the Riddler. Prove that you're smarter than him.
Well, that's the thing with the Riddler's pathology is that he will never accept that someone could be smarter than him. He'll always warp it in his own head of like, oh, he cheated. He cheated. He looked up that fact on his phone before he came up
he Googled
to the
it.
little man. Like, as I was talking, he had a little Google glass in his bat cowl, and that's how he found that out.
I'd like a scene where Batman explains to Riddler, like, all of the different answers that riddle could have been. He's like, well, you really should have narrowed it down a little bit or thrown it in.
That's my problem. A lot of them are either really specific that there's no way anyone would guess them, or they're insanely broad, where it's like, well, there's a few answers to this, really.
Though we do get, of course, the mention of face. Should just for we'll be remiss if we don't mention Two-Face's henchman referring to him as Face. Is, again, a thing that comes from The Dark Knight Returns. That was, I think, the first instance of that happening.
And it's amazing. I love it. I've never thought of calling him Face.
Yeah. It could be, though, like, he was also planning to, like, one time at Halloween, they all dressed up as the A-Team.
Yes.
And, of course, Harvey Dent dressed up as Dirk Benedict. And then they all called him Face since. He's like, oh, it's Face! Hey! And then you find out, like, Mr. T actually is one of the goons under the balaclava.
That's something we've missed out on in life. Mr. T being in a Batman.
Yeah. It's not too late,
I get the
next
impression,
Bane. Here we go.
Mr. T, right, I haven't seen him lately, but I get the impression he's the kind of person who probably hasn't aged today and looks exactly the same.
Oh, I had, like, he did a show on the BBC quite a few years back, and he looked older then.
Oh, no.
Like, so...
He looks a little older, but he still dresses the same. Like, he still wears the feather earrings and stuff. So he does look a little older and maybe a little slimmer.
I should hope so.
But
Imagine him in a polo shirt and slacks. That'd be awful.
I think that you'd be devastating if you met Mr. T and he wasn't just like Mr. T. If he's like, oh, hello, yes, my name is Terrence. It was like Lawrence, isn't it? It's Lawrence something or other. I can't remember his actual name. But if he was just like, yes, my name is Barnabas Baracus or something, you're just like, what? It's like, may I get you a white wine spritzer? Like, what the hell's going on?
Ruined.
He's lactose intolerant now. It's like, no.
Oh, I'd be so excited to meet Mr. T. That'd be so awesome.
Dreams come true.
I know. He was always my favorite.
Yeah. But talking about, the famous celebrities that we wish were in this movie that sadly aren't. Because at this point, Two-Face looks over and does a very comical, like a freaking Scooby-Doo reaction. And
I also thought like a Skeksis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, They definitely took notes for that Netflix series because he doesn't do that anywhere near as much as he did in the freaking movie.
No.
I still don't like the Dark Crystal movie, but I love that TV show. And a lot of it was because they dialed all that way, way back. Plus, they actually made the main characters interesting this time, which is like the freaking main characters in the Dark Crystal movies is like they look impressive, but they are boring as all crap.
No, don't be mean.
But the thing is, I picked up this in the novelization, and I remember like a month ago when I read it, I had to instantly message John going like, this must be a deliberate reference, right? Because Two-Face turns around, shoots his henchman out of rage, presumably trying to shoot through the window to get the Batman, shoots the guy who's in the way. But it does mention in the novelization that Two-Face has two guns, and they're two Colt 45s. And of course, Colt 45, the alcohol, was infamously promoted in America by one Billy D. Williams.
Yeah.
And it's like, was this Peter David, the guy writing the novelization, going like, this is an olive branch to Billy D, because I know he didn't get it. But just so he knows, like, I got you, Billy. I got you. Like, I threw in the reference. It's like, I just wonder, like, if you had pitched to Joel Schumacher, like, if you get Billy D. Williams in this, you can have him shoot people with a Colt 45. Then he could shoot that henchman and just turn the camera and be like, Works every time. And the whole cinema will erupt into applause. And Joel Schumacher will be like, oh my God, I didn't think of it that way. Of course, bring back Billy D. Williams for this.
Oh, so this is a Colt 45 here, is it?
No, but I'm not too sure what type of... Like, I kind of assume, John, because you're the guy who usually looks up the guns.
I have looked up the gun, right, but I couldn't find out what this gun is. It might be the same, right? Because throughout the movie, he uses a specific gun most of the time.
I think he always does have this big honking silver gun.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So I assume it's the same one.
I know what that is then.
Okay.
See,
so if it is that, I'm assuming that's an Ulta, not a Colt 45.
No. The main gun he uses, which I thought it could be this one. I couldn't quite see. In which case it probably is. It's a chrome-plated Benelli MP 95E. Very convoluted. But the thing that made me think maybe it's not that gun is that in real life, the gun only holds 6 rounds. He fires a lot more than 6 rounds. Which is a little joke people had about the new Joker movie as well, which I posted that meme about from The Simpsons.
That's just the thing in movies. It's just like, well, no one, unless you're a gun aficionado of some sort, then you're probably not going to spot like, well, that clip would only hold 5 bullets or something. It's like most people are like, just go for it.
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't care really. It's Two-Face. He's modified it. Okay, I'll just go with that. He's modified.
Yeah, his gun has 2 clips.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, that would totally work. What was the one though in the Die Hard trilogy game? Was it the Beretta that had the 2 things?
Yeah.
Because you'd think they'd give him a Beretta then. If it's like, well, it's 2 guns in one. There you go.
I think the Beretta... There must be a cultural thing of people holding 2 of those, because in the game Counter-Strike, you can have dual Berettas. That must be a thing, because I don't think they're copying the Die Hard trilogy game.
Hey, it was an acclaimed game.
It was. It was very good.
Yeah. But also, we're 3 for 3 now of the main villain shooting... like a seemingly pretty nice henchman.
Yeah. Like,
of course, we had the classic death of Bob in the first movie. Just still in every... The one moment, like, where you really end up like, oh, this Joker, like, I'm entertained by him at least. So I can kind of, getting bored with him. And then he kills Bob. It's like, no, I hate this guy. I want to see him get a gargoyle attached to his leg and fall off the goddamn church. And then the Penguin is like, oh, killing innocent kids, isn't that a little? No, it's a lot. And shooting the clown, rolling him into the friggin' the sewer water and stuff. So you think the Gotham PD could have like a PR campaign of like, don't join super criminals because they will shoot henchmen willy-nilly. Like, this guy seems like a pretty nice guy. It seems like him and Harvey are buddies.
Yeah, but he failed him, damn it.
Yeah, but he didn't really fail, though. That's like,
In his mind, he did.
I don't think he intentionally killed him. I think he was just trying to shoot out the window at Batman.
You think so?
And that guy
he's just a horrible shot.
Yeah, he's a
horrible shot.
Well, I mean, he is the former DA. He hasn't really got a lot of gun training, I imagine.
Yes.
Isn't he like a lawyer?
He's just like shooting all over the front.
Yeah. Bang, bang.
I will say also as well, I noted, I think it was I looked at one of the minutes from last week and I was like, oh, we didn't mention it then. Because I didn't really spot it. And you can't really see it here. But the steering wheel for the helicopter is like the steering wheel for a car.
Yeah, that baffled me.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think that's the way they are. I thought they were more like you see in like jets and stuff. They kind of there's the 2 things you hold on to.
Yeah, like
and
sticks, then, like joystick kind of things.
But I never thought it was going to be like a big bus steering wheel or something. That seems weird to me.
Yeah,
I think it's only that way just for this. It's not even a joke, but this the club reference, and he can jam the steering wheel with that.
They came up with that first,
which was also a very 90s thing.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I reckon they came up with that and were like, right, how do we make this work? This doesn't make sense.
Is it going to pour water over the controls? And like, no, just steer out of control. We need something that's going to keep it flying straight into the thing. It's like, I guess you'll have to, if we made the steering wheel like a big, stupid actual steering wheel, then maybe we could do it that way. But
he kills the guy whether intentional or not. And it upsets me because, again, you said they seem quite close. He called him Face. He's got like a little cutesy nickname for him.
And even like was it last week we came over, Two-Face had his hand on the shoulder and going like, Holloway, yes, Like they seemed like they were having a great time together.
Oh, alas. Although the face thing again, it reminds me actually, come to think of it, it's just sprung to mind, of like in wrestling. Like when wrestlers have really convoluted names and then they have to shorten it when they're doing like a promo because you can't say their full name. Like, there's a wrestler at the moment, No Way Jose, right? Which is fantastic. So to shorten it, right, rather than saying Jose, like, oh, hey, Jose, they'll say, hey, no way. Wait, what? What are you doing? Just call him Jose. That's his damn name.
No, for some reason I was just getting that no way, mana stuck in my head every time you said Jose, no way. Jose, oh, that should be his entrance theme. Jose, no way, mana.
Sadly, it's not.
Nah, it can be. I'll sell him that idea.
Hey, if you
for
tweet
cool
that to Vince
$20 million.
If you tweet that to Vince McMahon, he'll do it. He's lost his mind.
Just want to see that. I want to see a picture of him reacting to it, just because I hope it's like the meme of Vince McMahon reacting to the. There's like I'll post like Jose No Way and then his actual theme music, and have Vince McMahon post a reaction of him not being that fussed by that, and then my suggestion is seeing him going like, ah! Or just throwing his head back, going, ah!
Incredible.
Say what you want about Vince McMahon. He gave the world that meme. So,
it was a priceless meme, the best of all. And I love here as well the proper movie logic. Two-Face takes control of the chopper, just like that. Like, he just so happens to know how to fly one-handed.
He honestly taught helicopter flying lessons to make money to become a lawyer.
Clearly, yes.
Clearly, that must be the backstory that Tommy Lee Jones has thought up for this character.
It's the only explanation I'm going to accept.
Well, he doesn't have to get it into the air or to land it. All he has to do is steer it, apparently.
Yeah.
So,
Is that easy? I can't imagine it's easy.
I don't know. Maybe it's easy with a truck steering wheel.
That's why it's there for him.
Right.
This is all he knows how
it's
to
do. It's like a training wheel.
Because I get the impression flying a helicopter is very, very difficult. They don't look easy. They're all over the place. They're like wobbly. They look terrifying.
And Batman can be on top of the helicopter, and his cape doesn't get sucked up into the propellers.
You're living in a pre-Incredibles world, Tabitha. Where it's like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, capes just do whatever you want them to do. They'll
no capes.
Voice throughout the production since the start. Like, I do love Tommy Lee Jones for what he's doing in the movie, and even though this is not accurate to what Two-Face is supposed to be. But within this 1 minute, I do feel I have to vent a little about how much of a disservice I've done to the character and the relationship between him and Batman. Because this instance when Batman comes in through the side window and he says, "You need help, Harvey. Give it up." That's the one indication of a real prior relationship between these two.
It's one of the only ones.
I think it is pretty much the only one, except for at the end when Harvey's like, "Oh, thank you, Bruce. You've always been a true friend," and all that stuff. And the thing is the most compelling part of Two-Face, the most compelling thing about Harvey Dent as a character, is his relationship to Batman, and what and the emotions that Bruce Wayne feels about Harvey Dent, and the guilt of all this happening to him and stuff. And he's saying this to "You need help, Harvey." This movie is very much playing with the idea of the old school Two-Face, so we're "Oh, just acid in the face," and turns into a crazy person.
Yeah.
Whereas by this point, 1995, they'd already retconned the character into something much more complex than that. And Harvey Dent, as a person before he was even Two-Face, was a person who had deep, deep psychological issues. A classic issue of the comic, The Eye of the Beholder, was a storyline that ran throughout from March 1990. It also had they painted Harvey Dent prior to being Two-Face as a guy who had sort of a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenia and bipolar disorders and stuff like that, and it was all based around the fact that he had a very abusive childhood where his father would play a game with him where he'd bet him "Oh, if I flip this coin and it lands a certain way, then you don't get a beating tonight." And every time,
bloody hell, that's dark.
He'd always get the crap beat out of him. And then Harvey finds out that it's a trick coin. It's the coin the Two-Faces use.
Oh my god!
Use and stuff. And then within that story arc, they have a whole thing about him and Batman and Gordon take down a guy called Rudolph Klemper, who's obviously referencing Ed Kemper, the serial killer. And he's the senior slasher and stuff, and he gets acquitted. But then his house mysteriously blows up. And then as they're going after Maroni in that story arc, Batman starts noticing that "Oh, this is my good buddy Harvey Dent. he keeps talking about like planting evidence and then like killing people and stuff. It's like he's kind of doing it jokingly, but he's also a bit like, I don't know if Harvey's all right in the head here anymore. And then once he finds out that when they're investigating Rudolph Klemper, the serial killer who got acquitted, he had a repressed second personality called Little Rudy. And Harvey is really affronted by this because it emerges that Harvey Dent himself already has a second personality at this point. And so then you get the whole classic arc of, they take down Maroney, gets the acid splash in his face and stuff. But in that story, The Eye of the Beholder, Harvey goes after his father. And then as he's doing the coin flip game with his own dad, and then Batman intervenes. And then when it lands on the innocent side of the coin, Two-Face gives himself up. He's just like, well,
he does it.
That's what the coin said. And then they bring Harvey Dent to Arkham Asylum and stuff. And they have, like, he gets his face reconstructed and stuff. And it seems as if, he's fine now. And then afterwards, Harvey voluntarily scars his own face again. And then the Two-Face part of his personality and the final panels are saying, you never had any choice, Harvey. You never had any choice at all. It's, like, really indicating a much, much deeper, more disturbed individual. He needs help, Harvey. Give it up and stuff. And you get all that again, because at this point when 95 came out, I'd already seen the animated series, and the two-parter about the origins of Two-Face is like one of the best things they ever did in that show. And they have, in terms of Batman's relationship with him, well, for one thing, they already do Harvey Dent having a split personality prior to being Two-Face, where they have him visiting a psychiatrist to talk about Big Bad Harv, all his repressed anger.
Big Bad Harv?
It's a bit of a silly name, but he has a second personality who's just like this raging lunatic called Big Bad Harv. And because he's, trying to be a practicing DA, they have to just take care of that, basically.
No, I quite like that, though. I know it's a silly name, but I think it's supposed to be a bit stupid and silly, because it's maybe that's what he kind of subconsciously wants to be.
I think it's all because dating back from his childhood as well. Like, he would have called when he was a kid, it was Big Bad Harv, and now it's lasted throughout his entire life. And they do a great bit where, like, the therapist hypnotizes him to bring out Big Bad Harv, but it's raining outside and there's a flash of lightning, and they show you for a split second the Two-Face side of his face and stuff. And it's like, oh my god, this is so well done. And then, of course, after friggin' he gets scarred and stuff, amazing sequence, because it goes into all the stuff about Batman's guilt and stuff. And there's a dream sequence where Harvey Dent's running throughout this, like, Dali-esque version of Gotham, and he ends up in this big bridge. And Batman's coming like, Harvey, come back, I want to help you. And Harvey just turns to him and he's just like, you knew there was something wrong. You knew there was something terribly wrong with me. Why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you try to help me? And Batman's like, I did try to help you. And then Harvey falls off the bridge shouting, why didn't you save me? And then Bruce looks down into the pit where he falls, and his parents are there. And they look up and say, why didn't you save us, son? And it cuts to Bruce Wayne waking up. And like, this is a kid's cartoon I saw prior to this movie. Went into this in 95, I was like, this is Two-Face? Where the hell's all the pathos? Where's all the complex character
even
stuff?
Back then, you were looking for pathos.
Yeah, goes, well, not so much pathos, but I was like, where's all the deep stuff about Two-Face? Like, well, this is like a zany cartoon version. This is the cartoon version of him.
Yeah.
The actual cartoon did this character much, much more justice and stuff. And it was like, so I will, love what Tommy Lee Jones is doing in terms of, like, this is the decision they made, so what he's doing is great. But the fact that they still, today, like, even The Dark Knight doesn't really do the Batman-Harvey Dent relationship all that well. Like, it just kind of, he's more, at the end of The Dark Knight, he's bummed out that his girlfriend's dead. That's why, like, Batman feels bad at the end of that movie. It's like, it's criminal that they've not delved more into that in a live-action film yet. And the fact that this is the one indication you get, they had your big screen debut of Two-Face, and that's the closest you get to it being like, here's the relationship between Batman and Harvey Dent, is a goddamn shame, is what I'm saying. So, thank you for letting me rant about that for a minute there.
No, that was lovely, because you're so tied to these characters. Like, for me, it's like I know them as movie characters, and now I retroactively get into the other things. But you've been with them since day one. Well, not day one, obviously, but you know what I mean. Day one to you.
Yeah, but it's, again, I just feel like it's a terrible shame. But let's not dwell on the negatives of the movie. Unless you guys have negative things you want to bring up about this minute that we should get into.
Well, as far as Two-Face goes, I think there's that sequelitis kind of thing where, like, well, there was already a sequel to Batman, and Batman Returns, and they had two villains, sort of, in that one. We don't want to return to just... I think they could have just done Two-Face better and just had him as the villain. Yes. And just because, he is two villains in one. You know, they could have done something interesting there, but I think once they bring Riddler into it, like Riddler is kind of the Harvey Dent side of Two-Face, and Two-Face is just fully on the Beast side of Two-Face.
And he kind of takes a back seat. Like once the Riddler comes in, Two-Face is kind of like his crony.
Yeah. Oh,
he doesn't really do anything anymore.
Because he doesn't really have the smarts or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I will say, one thing that's always struck me about these scenes as well is the floppiness of Tommy Lee Jones's hair. Is because like that's a very 90s haircut that he's actually got going. Where it's got the DiCaprio curtains, as you call them. I guess he's doing it ahead of DiCaprio, but it's just weird because like I guess Tommy Lee Jones always has that hair, but he always has it slicked back. So you never realize that, like, the slightest bit of activity is going to flop down over his face, and he's going to look like he should be in half a boy band, or he should have to be in a boy band, I guess.
It's interesting when he's standing back in the helicopter a little bit, the way the light is shining on him, he almost looks like Joker for
100%.
For a bit. Like when he's laughing, just the way it is, because you can't see the colors on the one side of his face, and I don't know. He definitely just has like a Joker look.
We've said before, that's the whole problem with his character, really, is it's just the Joker. He's just doing exactly what the Joker would do. You could put the Joker in this film. It wouldn't make a difference. Yeah.
One thing I'm trying to see, though, as Two-Face is going out, is, and it struck me earlier in the week, is that you see on the Harvey Dent side, in his jacket, he has a red suspender. Or braces, or whatever. I'm not too sure. Americans call them suspenders, right? The trouser suspenders. And I think they're braces over here.
Yeah, suspenders here are very different. Yeah. They're a lingerie item.
But I was curious, though, because, like, I was trying to see into the other side of Two-Face's jacket, because I'm wondering, like, he had the red suspender in that one half. Does he have a different suspender on the other one? Or he's like, oh, no one... He's all about like, no one's going to see that part. So I guess I could just wear the one pair of
No, you've got to be
ever know.
You've got to be that dedicated, right? You have to have them split.
You definitely have to have them split.
Well, yeah.
It'd be weird though if he was like he wore half a belt and then the other half was suspenders, and he just had lopsided trousers the whole time. This is like, I don't think this is the way. The belt's supposed to go the whole way around, Harvey. Like it doesn't work if it doesn't connect at the other side.
Don't tell me what to do.
This one suspender's doing me great.
Well, it's half suspended, like his sanity.
That's the perfect metaphor Joel Schumacher was reaching for. That's why he made sure you could see that suspender during that one scene.
But only the one. I do love the way Batman smashes through the window. He says the line you've mentioned, you need help, Harvey. But the way he smashes through is really cool. And I admire what Bats is doing. He's trying to help him, but I think he's too far gone, dude. Just call it quits. Just take this guy in. You're not going to help him. What's going to happen? He's going to get him some therapy and he's going to turn good? Really, at this point?
I mean, particularly as we see the circumstances of Arkham Asylum later in the movie. It's like, I don't think that place looks like it's a place that helps people.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It just looks like a dungeon. Like they just put them there and then hope they don't break out.
Yeah, like I work in a mental health hospital. Doesn't look like that.
Although I like to tell myself it does. I imagine John going into work every day with this giant Gothic tower. Lightning and rain all around it, no matter what time of the year it is, no matter what kind of day it is everywhere else.
There is a giant Gothic tower on site. Because just opposite my building is the prison. And that's got a big guard tower. They don't use the guard tower now, but it's there.
All for aesthetics, though.
Yeah, I think that's why they've left it. Aesthetics.
They always want people to give that good old-fashioned prison mental asylum vibe. But yeah, so then Batman does the actually looks like it'll be a real pain in the ass. That falls down but gets caught between the copter and the landing thing.
Yeah, that's a bit more interesting than just hanging over the edge.
It just looks like that'd be murder on your armpits as well, frankly.
Definitely.
Maybe his armpits are super padded.
Oh, yeah, he's thought about this.
Super padded armpits.
He's like, I might be in this situation, so I need some extra padding there, Alfred. Can you put that in, please? Sew that up? Yeah, thanks.
That'll be great, though. Like the next time you see Bruce Wayne and that visit to Wayne Enterprises, he's just got like one of those casts that like holds up his arms and stuff. He's walking in like a scarecrow, just like, oh yeah, I had an accident on the ski slope or whatever.
Honestly, though, with all the grappling and stuff, like, no matter how fit you are, he's got to have a whole bunch of reinforcement in the arms or something, because that would just rip your arms off all the time.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, yeah, so we got he gets into the helicopter, and Two-Face, I do love the line of, have the good taste to die.
When you think about it, as good as that is, it doesn't actually make any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Good taste to die? What?
So that's how I'm going to psych him out. I'm going to appeal to his sense of class. The classy thing to do would be to be just to die. Really.
I also love the little bit he adds at the end. He says, have the good taste to die. See ya! That's an interesting little addition. And also, they're flying towards the Statue of Justice, right?
Oh, yes.
Which, okay, it's the Statue of Liberty. The name change... I think that sounds very oppressive. The statue, I don't know, it's just the way it's worded. The Statue of Justice. Whenever someone goes on about justice, they rarely mean justice. It's usually like control.
Plus, there already is kind of a Statue of Justice with the balancing and stuff, and this isn't that.
Hang on, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
I think it was like in the thing on her crown is Lady Gotham, so most people will call her Lady Gotham.
But it's not actually officially called that when you look it up. It's called, I know, this blew my mind because it says Lady Gotham. And it is referred to a few times as Lady Gotham in like the script and stuff. But when you look it up, the official name for it, the Statue of Justice. Maybe they had the same problem as me and were like, don't call it
that. It'd just be like for telling R. Kelly's lyrics for Gotham City, just like City of Justice, City of Love. So over the bay they have the city or the Statue of Love as well. It's like, Gotham's a city of justice, a city of love. So we have the Statue of Justice and the Statue of Love.
Well, again, based on what you just said there, maybe that's why they changed it actually, because there is a Statue of Justice, and they were probably like, wait a minute, this doesn't look anything like that. That doesn't work. People are going to be confused.
The thing is, though, if they use the giant version of that Statue of Justice, it would thematically work as well.
Yeah, it'd be really cool, and it's two.
Tipping the scales of justice and stuff, and that's like Two-Face, and it's like, yeah, it'd be totally...
It'd be way better.
Yeah, it would, because what is the point of having the Statue of Liberty basically out there? Like, what is... It could be a statue of anything.
Yeah.
I didn't like that they copied that, and I didn't notice Gotham on it at first.
This one says Gotham.
I know, I didn't notice Gotham on it at first, and when we were watching it last night, I'm like, wait a minute, they're at the Statue of Liberty? What is this? And Jonathan's like, no, in Gotham. I'm like,
it's stupid, isn't it? They've just copied and pasted it.
Fit. Yeah.
The giant, even bigger version of that giant gargoyle grotesque statue that we saw earlier in the week.
Even that. Yeah, anything.
Out there.
I get it's meant to be a symbol of, like, say, what Batman fights for, but do the Justice one then.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Oh,
stupid.
We get to spend some time with Lady Gotham next week anyway, so all too briefly as a thing hurls into her giant face. But,
now, the actual real Statue of Liberty, like there's multiples, and the big famous ones are in New York, and then there's one in Paris too. And those were like gifts of relationships between countries. So is this supposed to be? I'm just wondering if is like this a Gotham and Metropolis connection? Like Metropolis gave Gotham.
It would be, because they do mention Metropolis in the movie as well.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if they had indicated that in some way.
That's I like that idea. That's my new canon, I think.
It's like Superman himself crafted this giant statue with his laser vision, but he's not very creative, so he just copied the Statue of Liberty.
He's like, this is what human statues look like, I think. I don't know. He grew up in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have a lot of big statues.
Yeah. It'd be great, though, if you just seen it on the foot was just etched in like Superman. Just like the signature. And then he was going to carve in Statue of Justice, and then someone was like, Superman, there is a Statue of Justice. And he's like, shut up. Then he just typed in Lady Gotham and her crown. He's like, there you go, it's fixed. It's totally fine now.
I do like that the Justice idea, though. Like the Justice's blind statue with the balancing. Like, if they would have done it where the helicopter crashed into one side, so the other, as far as like the balancing act, the other side crashed down, like, oh, no, we're going to come down heavy kind of thing.
Beautiful.
So
Would have been good.
Now it is just like, it's 100% should have been that statue. It's like, it would have been perfect. But
God damn it. We've ruined the movie for ourselves now.
This has been like, as much as we approach this, it's like, oh no, I'm going to be optimistic about this movie. And this will be like, no, I'm going to talk about all the things I love about it. And then spend this movie going on, but this completely ruins the relationship with Batman and Two-Face. Just doesn't do it any form of justice. And they got the wrong damn statue out there.
But we do it with a smile. That's what matters. Actually, there's a bit here as well. The Goldsman draft, this section, there's a lot more. And I love it. I think it's fantastic. As usual, this Goldsman draft has some really cool dialogue. And it's got Two-Face. Ever been to Arkham, Batman? You'd feel right at home. You took a year of my life, so I'm here to pay you back. There's only one way out of this waltz. One of us dies. And then Batman just says, I won't kill you, Harvey. And grabs him by the throat. And Two-Face goes, Batman doesn't kill. Bull. You're a killer too. And somehow Harvey's words shake Batman a beat. It's all the distraction Harvey needs. And he smashes Batman across the face. And then Batman slips out of sight.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, as we've covered over 2 movies now, Batman can be like, oh, that's hurtful. Truthful. Like, yes, you are a killer, you goddamn
He's murdered
psycho.
loads of people.
It's like, well, let's get out the list. All right, you set fire to that one guy. You drop that one guy off a bell tower. You accidentally killed the Joker, I guess.
Oh, he put dynamite in that guy's pants.
Yeah, threw him into the sewer. It's like, there's no way. I'm pretty certain too. He knew what was going to happen when he fired those bats at the Penguin. It's like, oh, he's obviously going to fall back into the friggin' toxic waste and stuff as well. I was like, oh, no, he is a cold-blooded killer. Although that's a lot that's in the novelization. They go a lot into Batman's guilt about not just Harvey Dent, but also of the being close to criminals and stuff. And like, where does the line between me and them come up? And of course, none of that's in the movie.
No. It's a shame. It's weird because the movie's quite long, but it doesn't feel long. It feels really snappy because stuff is happening. But I could have another 20 minutes slapped onto this film.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they had another 40. they cut it all out.
Yeah.
But do you guys though have any more notes about this particular minutes or?
I don't.
Oh, this is
no,
because now it just usually be the time we'd ask the guests about their history with the film. Though, like, were you both like hardcore blaring Seal at your window the summer of 1995, getting ready for Batman Forever, showing up in the cinema wearing green spandex and stuff, and just been like, oh yes, I am ready, take me Batman Forever.
I wasn't wearing green spandex, no, but I was collecting comics at that time, so Batman was one of my big ones. I'd already seen the other 2 movies, so this was definitely a big. Yeah, this was at this point, especially being the 3rd movie, it was like, okay, here we go. Everybody's on the train, and it was a little weird because I did know. Oh, my very first Batman comic had Two-Face in it, so I knew something about Two-Face, and this movie didn't seem to know much about Two-Face, and but I was a Jim Carrey fan, so I was like, okay, but even I hate to say it, but there's a couple scenes in this movie, even watching it the first time, I was just like, okay, that's maybe not really the Riddler either, but it's I don't know, but I would still say it's in the plus column versus the negative column.
Yeah, I think overall it is, isn't it? There's a lot to love.
It really helps it that the next movie came out because then it's like, okay, definitely no. Okay, yes, this one yes, definitely
makes this one look a lot better.
Yeah. So I did not see this when it came out. So that would have been my freshman year of college, and I wasn't into superhero movies yet. So I think I saw it when Jonathan and I were dating. It's even possible that I saw it after I saw Batman and Robin, because I remember seeing Batman and Robin in the theater with him, and then he may have shown me this one afterwards.
This one's better.
Yeah, I think that may have been what it was. And I think I remember liking it at the time because I really liked Jim Carrey at the time. And so I think I remember liking this movie when it first came out, and then I haven't seen it maybe once. I don't know, in all these years until we just watched it before coming on the show here. So then I was just like, oh, wow, this is really campy and, you know, like sounds when they pull a whisker out of a chin and everything. And I it's like, wow, this is going for it.
Well, like it would be the minute before our first minute here, so minute 9 probably, when he pulls the guy's hearing aid out and it makes like a suction cup, like
yeah,
sound.
Yeah, yep. So, but it was a fun watch.
I remember from the very first time seeing this, and this is definitely future minutes, but there's a scene in this movie where we're looking at Batman from below. He's up in a building looking down at, you know, a Two-Face crew. And that sounds like a music group. But,
Two-Face crew.
The Two-Face crew.
But then we're still looking at Batman from below, but then he jumps down to intervene with them. But the camera, like, takes us from below, and in, you know, one shot goes around, and then we're seeing him from above. And at the time, I was like, whoa, like, that was a cool shot. And I still think it looks pretty decent, but that's something different that this movie's doing that the previous two didn't do.
But yeah, I'm good to go if everyone is.
I am noted out. Right. I've lost my coin.
Yay, we live.
Oh, damn it. Right. Oh, there.
See you later.
Found it. We're all right. We're in business.
Slowly backing out of the room.
Right, one more time. Would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you both online or shows you've been on and whatnot?
Yeah, currently just look for UHF 62nd. My co-host David Johnson and I are having lots of fun reminiscing from our childhood and just watching this movie over and over. That is the movie UHF with Weird Al. And yeah, I think UHF 62nd is pretty well Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's just the same thing all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And recently we guested on, it hasn't aired yet, so probably about the time this airs again, on Joe versus the Minute, where they'll be talking about Joe versus the volcano. And so we're on there with Tierney and Jarf, and that was a lot of fun. So
we just beat us hat
look
Tierney
for
on
that
new as well.
Yeah. So look for that new podcast, and we had a lot of fun.
Ooh, I've never actually seen that movie, so now it's like, do I watch the movie first?
It was the first time I had seen it. Jonathan had watched it growing up, but it was the first time I'd seen it. It was fun.
Ooh,
it's a fun movie.
That's all that matters to me. I don't have to have the movie be the best movie ever. I just want it to be enjoyable. So that's good.
Yeah, it was. It is.
So I'm excited for that, though, because the quality of the hosts means it's going to be a good show regardless. If it's a crap movie, it doesn't matter. If you've got good hosts, it's fine.
That's true.
That's all I care about.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what we're fingers crossed for Batman and Robin, basically. It's like...
Yeah, apparently people like us. I don't know why, but
yeah, it's good. You guys are good guys. Thank you very much for having us on. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you for joining us. We are going to depart now into the dark night. But, you know, if you want to talk to us between now and Monday, then feel free to come to the Bat Minute Listeners Cave on Facebook. Talk to us on Instagram as well at The Bat Minute. Give us money on Patreon. Give us your money. All your money. And, you know, buy some merch on TeePublic. That's always cool. You can wear our faces. And what is better in life than that? That's the most important thing to everyone, including me. I'm wearing my Bat Minute shirt now. It's like a uniform. That was a complete coincidence. I didn't even deliberately put it on. But yes, make sure you do that. And now we are going to see, will our guests survive? Will we throw them out of this helicopter onto the spikes of Lady Gotham's crown? I don't know what the hell that is. Or will we let them go, which would also involve probably dropping them out of a helicopter at this point. We're very high up in the air, so let's see. Tails will be you die. Woo. Right. Tails!
Oh, no!
See ya!
Next time, a whirlyburn.
Excuse me, Mr. J. Mind if I take this one?
Yeah, I guess.
What's that?
I said be my guest.
Thanks, Puddin'. Next time, a whirlybird in the hand is worth 2 in the face. A copter crash on a countenance. An explosion on an effigy. Gotham's Golem takes an autogyro going pyro on a kisser. But can a last-minute jackknife save the life of our beloved Bat Mister? Find out next time. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.